Hello, everybody. So, if you have watched my other videos on SoFi, you know one of the things that gets me really excited about SoFi is how agile they are. They are a company that moves very, very fast. There's very little complacency going on at SoFi. The CEO communicates very clearly about all of the objectives. We hear about this company all the time. We hear about their new products all the time. If you look at the roadmap, the number of new products that they've launched, I mean, it's just insane. They've done things as complicated as, say, pay in full, options, right? How many brokers, millennial oriented brokers, don't have options yet? They have their own ETF, credit score monitoring, Technicis, right? A whole tech platform, a credit card that has 3% cash back. They have so many different products. And to me, a clear sign of SoFi being an agile company, a move fast company, was how quickly they were able to move away from student loans, for example. That was another clear example about how able this company is. This company is able to move fast. You can throw adversity after adversity after adversity at this company, and they're able to reconfigure their business and readapt their business to the environment. That's why I love owning this stock. I really do. And today, well, yesterday actually, from when I record this video, but yesterday we've had this news, right, where SoFi moves so fast that this is the latest example of what they have, right? So right now, what do we have? We have a confidence crisis in banking. We have a banking crisis for the past 2 weeks. FDIC, people are worried about FDIC with that $250,000 limit, and sometimes, and I've said this in prior videos, 250,000, that may seem like a lot, but you may be transitioning. Say you sell a house and you haven't quite bought a new house. There's many instances where you could have more than $250,000 on the checking account, typically transitionary period, but that's enough to concern many customers, in my view. And this is the latest example of their innovation. I have never seen this anywhere at any other bank. I'd be curious to know how many banks do that. But anyways, their marketing is just very clever here. They talk about this FDIC coverage, right? The $2 million in FDIC coverage. And I did read the fine print before making this video. And the fine print is that whenever you are going to have more than $250,000 on SoFi, SoFi is going to be acting as your agent and move a share of that money. Let's say you have $1 million. SoFi is going to help in 3 other accounts at other banks than SoFi and put that money at other banks on your behalf so that you get insurance if you opt in. So all in all, to me, the cost of this is going to be very, very minimal to SoFi. This is only going to apply to people who have more than $250,000 with them. Minimal cost. But the marketing value, I believe, is going to be just insane, right? This has been on the news everywhere. Many of you have told me in the comments, look at this, it's so great. And I do agree that it's clever marketing. They've been trending everywhere, and I just love, like, when you go to their front page, they have 2 circumflex accents, and yeah. If you're a millennial, you know what that means, right? If you were 15 and say 15, 18 in like the 2000s, early 2000s, late 90s, you know what that means, right? These 2 circumflex accents, what it's a nod, right? It's a nod to internet culture, popular culture, and it's kind of a mocking, right? It kind of means mocking, happy, sarcastic, happy, ironic, happy. It's got some sort of what's going on? That's what I'm doing here, right? I don't know how to explain it, right? It's internet culture, but I can tell you that this marketing is going to resonate with their core customer, right? The customer that I think their average income is something like more than 140,000 for SoFi. That core customer who grew up really, and right now is entering their prime earning years, right? They're entering their 30s, prime earning years. They're going to get this. They're going to get that this bank is aligned with them. The culture of the brand, the signal that the brand signs is so important. And this is a brand that I believe is going to be aligned with that, young engineer, say, who just went into their next role at their next company. Anyways, moving on. But this is good marketing. This is not a video about marketing, though. This is a video about good strategy. And I think that this is a wonderful strategy for SoFi to do that. Because let's set the scene for SoFi. I just want to set the scene quickly. SoFi knows that it's getting no credit whatsoever in its stock price for anything it does. And if you've owned SoFi for a long time, like I have, you've probably noticed that, right? Remember the banking license? The banking license was supposed to be very hard to get, and there was a lot of uncertainty around the banking license a year ago, and they got it, and it was stunning. And the stock didn't move. Remember the threshold of 5 million users? That was a big deal. Stock barely moved, right? Stock goes up after earnings, people are surprised, and then 2 weeks later they forget and it goes back down to $5. That's the story of this stock. How about all the new products that they introduced? Even options, right? That was supposed to be a big deal. Did the stock react? No. The market doesn't care about SoFi. Wall Street does not care about SoFi. Here's the reasoning of Wall Street, in my view. SoFi is a student loan company. It's not anymore. They did one of the best pivot I've ever seen in banking, right? One of the top pivots in business, I believe. They did a wonderful business. All of his business went away. They pivoted. And SoFi still associates this stock as a student loan company. You say SoFi is a student loan company. Student loans bad, there's a pause, and thus SoFi bad, and sells SoFi. And actually, if you look up even for SoFi on Google, it's funny, but some advertisers, I don't think, got the message that SoFi has moved on. And so when you type SoFi on Google, you'll get ads for like student loans refinancing. That just happened as I was researching this video. I was like, why am I getting an ad for student loans from another company that's SoFi when I type SoFi? Because it's still the association. Like, this company suffers this stigma of association, but it's not the truth anymore. This company's moved on. So you're not getting any credit for performance, strategic performance, of course, because right now the market is only short term, but you're not getting credit for financial performance. They've posted great increases in adjusted EBITDA, great numbers in their different loan performance. They're not getting any credit. So why? Why would they focus on say, trying to go for GAAP earnings? Why would they focus about that, right? Their adjusted EBITDA, that's all I care about. That I don't mind as stock-based compensation. I don't mind for a young company. So if the market's not going to give you any credit, right, for that profit, which a lot of companies are doing right now. Like, a lot of companies right now are slowing down growth, lifting the foot off the pedal a little bit, not accelerating as much of growth to show profitability. SoFi is not getting any credit. What do you think they are doing right now? Well, this is what they are doing right now. They're focusing on market share. They're focusing on strategy. They're focusing on the very, 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 very long run. That's what you should do. That's what all companies should do, at least for my style of investing, where, earnings, when a company reaches to the point where they trade at a 10 PE, I don't want to own it anymore. I want to be out of that stock. This company does everything that's right, in my view, when it comes to winning at the end of the line. When you invest in growth stocks, it's all about the terminal value. It's all about how big is that company going to be in 2030. And when you look at the trend of SoFi, I see no slowdown whatsoever in new member growth. They're acquiring new members, 5.2 million members. And I just want to show you that insane rate of growth, right? Literally every single year-over-year quarter literally is showing more than 50% growth. This is from another video I did on SoFi, but I just wanted to show you, these are the mobile app installs. And I think they're a good proxy for what SoFi would call a member, because if you say bank at Chase or Wells Fargo and you don't have the mobile app, how engaged are you as a customer? You're probably not that engaged as a customer. I would argue, at least nowadays, like at least today, you're probably not that engaged in the customer. And if you don't have a mobile app, that may also mean that you're like 85 years old and you're in the harvest stage of your life, where you're really, the present value of your future cash flows to the bank is not going to be as high. So when you compare those numbers, it gets very stunning, because 5.2 million compared to say 24 million apps installed for Wells Fargo, I mean, this is very impressive to me. The customers are very engaged on the apps. I realize, the deposits and all of that is all very different. The trend, what I care as a growth investor is the trend. The trend is clearly in SoFi's camp. We are growing market share like crazy, and I really, really love that about SoFi. Now, talking about their last move of competing more and more aggressively during these trying times, during the issues that we're having with the banking system. I believe SoFi is right on message with their mission with that new product. They focus on making products that are best cost, that are the best products for the money, the best value, right? The best bang for your buck. And they focus on making a product that is, at least one order of magnitude better, right? 10x better. You'll see that for checking account, it's actually 2 orders of magnitude, onward to maybe 3 orders of magnitude if they keep raising interest rates. So let's see what has happened, right, recently. So the past 2 weeks, savvy customers have heard Yellen loud and clear, right? Last week on Sunday, we thought all banks were safe. You may remember that. Not this past Sunday, but the Sunday before that. We hear in the evening, there's a bailout, there's the BTFP put in place, banks are all safe, regional banks are safe, everything is safe, right? And on Wednesday, right, 3 days later, I made a whole video about this thing is dangerous. We have Janet Yellen in front of Congress. She says only deposits at banks deemed systemic are protected. And then she goes on to say that whether a bank is systemic or not depends on the assessment of the FDIC, the Treasury, and the Fed and their committees. Much to the sadness of this senator from Oklahoma who was asking whether the local Oklahoma banks were safe or not. If you've watched that video clip, it's pretty clear what she said. She said that it would have to be a case-by-case basis, and it would be deposits at banks deemed systemic by 3 entities, 3 committees, right? That's why we had to wait for so long for Silicon Valley. So it means that if you're at a regional bank, it means that you're gonna have to go through these 3 screens, and they're gonna have to decide. They're essentially gonna decide. They're gonna pick whether you get a bailout or not. They pick it. They decide. So it's pretty clear that regional banks, are the worst of both worlds here, because they are not going to get more than FDIC, right? The max for any bank, and this is true for any banks in the US, the max is $250K. That's the FDIC insurance. That's not in play. That's always been true, right, for any bank. So that doesn't change. What changes though is when you have an amount past $250K, you typically would get a haircut, right? You would get, 50% back on any $100,000 above $250K. So that still applies at a regional bank. That applies at SoFi now, only up to $2 million. So SoFi has done an 8x, and you see again these patterns of order of magnitude. An 8x, eight times more. That's pretty close to 10 times better, right? That's pretty close to 1 order of magnitude better. So, kind of going back to 0 to 1 and who these companies, inspire themselves from and who they ever inspire to be. And, it's not a coincidence that number is this high. It's not a coincidence, right? 250, that starts with a 2. Right, 2 million. That's what with 2 people associate in their mind. Oh my gosh, this is so much better. 2 million is so much better than 250. It's not a coincidence. I just want to say that. Anyways, so you have 2 million at SoFi. So SoFi is almost 1 order of magnitude better than a regional bank. Now, as far as the Big Four, right, a Big Four bank, Wells Fargo, Citibank, Bank of America, and Chase. Now those. There is no doubt that they're leaps and bounds ahead of both, the regional banks and SoFi. Like, I'm not going to deny that. That's for sure. They're better because the too big to fail status gives them a safety deposit much better than the FDIC, right? If you have money at Chase, if you have 10 million at Chase, you're going to be pretty much safe to your 10 million because Chase is too big to fail. We already know that Chase is in that list that Yellen is talking about. It's too big to fail. So that's better. But how much better is it really? Like once you have full protection of your assets, you don't get into these orders of magnitudes better, right? That's the point. That's the point I'm trying to make. So for most people, 2 million is going to be enough, and that's why I joke here. SoFi is worse on FDIC than say one of the big four, but come on, 2 million, is the same for most customers. Most customers are gonna give a check mark for 2 million FDIC, give a check mark for unlimited FDIC. That's what I believe. I believe they're gonna look at both and they're gonna put a check mark. Also, if the customer is not familiar with the system of too big to fail banks, systematically important banks, that may actually give an edge to SoFi here, because Chase, Wells Fargo, they're advertising 250. Right? They're not advertising, we're too big to fail. You're, in fact, unlimited at our bank at 500 million, no problem, you're insured. They're not advertising that, right? That wouldn't fly with a regulator. So they can't really advertise. It's just that we all know that it's true. We all know it's too big to fail. But if you're dealing with perhaps a customer that's less into finance, they may not know. They may see Chase as 250K. They may see SoFi as 2 million, and they may erroneously think that SoFi is safer than Chase. I don't know. It's possible. It's kind of the same analogy of like the stadium. You may have earned this, like the SoFi Stadium. You'll get this analogy where people say, "Oh, well, SoFi built a $2 billion stadium. They must be a safe bank, right?" In some people, that's what's going to matter. Not because you're not into business, you don't understand that it's obviously a license, and obviously SoFi doesn't own the stadium. But sometimes people are not gonna dig that deep, or at least not as deep as we try to dig on the channel. So, assuming that we're at the same on the FDIC, in my view, then the only thing that's left is the 4%. So you get 4% versus 0.01%. And keep in mind that's for the Sapphire checking and Premier checking, right? It's not the entry-level checking. Anyways, so but most of the time, if you bank with them, you're gonna get those monthly fees waived. Typically, you're gonna get the monthly fees waived if you have your income going there. So they're both free, right? They both don't have fees, if we're being fair. But this is 400x better on interest. And you know what's funny is, SoFi has always been multiple X better, but if you remember in the low interest environment, they were like, oh, we pay 30x the average, right? They were paying 0.3%, 0.4%. They were paying those in the early days, right? And now they're paying 4%. So this is an example of SoFi essentially takes no margin on the interest that it earns on your short-term deposits, right? On the short-term deposits that they have, they don't earn any margin. They essentially revert it back to the customer. And I'll conclude with saying this, right? The conclusion is what? Well, many will see, in my view, SoFi checking as a no-brainer. And when you look at that, you see the difference in interest rate. And you see that the FDIC is roughly equally safe, even though when you dig deeper, of course, Chase is safer than SoFi. When you don't peel back the onion and you look at the surface, it's at least equivalent, if not better, with a 2 million, right? At least that's what most people are going to look at, right? Right, it's the same to most people, and that's great. And lastly, this is a master move of marketing from SoFi, because the product likely costs nothing here, but it provides tremendous returns in terms of marketing. Hopefully this remains trending over social media. Hopefully this exits FinTweet and actually they start pushing this and promoting this. I believe this is an example of a company stepping up in its competitive aggressiveness, and a company really competing harder and harder and harder for those deposits. And every company wants to compete hard, right? That's not entirely true, but the problem of competition is not do you want to compete, is can you? Like ask yourself how many companies could have come up with something this quickly, right? This quickly, like in what, nine or 8 business days. In 9 or 8 business days, we were able to launch that, right? If you work at any company, any major company, are you able to release a product in 9 days? Very few companies are able to do that. That's why for a company like SoFi, right, moat doesn't matter as much. Innovation, speed of change is what matters, because you're always going to be ahead, because you're able to move fast, to always move faster. You're always going to have the next product that competition who relies on rent seeking does not have. And that's the problem with a lot of banks. A lot of banks have relied on rent seeking for way too long, and they've forgotten about innovation. Anyways, I am done with this video. This is not investment advice. This is just entertainment. I sure hope you were entertained. Thank you for liking. Thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing. Follow me on Twitter if you have Twitter. I respond on Twitter. It's always fun. And thank you for supporting my channel. Really appreciate it. Have a great day.